In today's video, I'll be making some beautiful DIYs using wood from Dollar Tree. So let's jump right in. For the first DIY, I'll be making a little tabletop stand, and I'll be using this wood shape. It looks like a little house with a triangle top, and I'll be using two for this project. Since I'll be painting these, I'm just sanding off that sticky residue from the label just to make sure the paint goes on nice and smooth. And I'm just using a couple warm neutral acrylic paints and thinning them down a bit with some water. So I'm just brushing that paint on and then wiping it down. And since it's thinned out, you can still see some of that wood grain underneath, which gives it a really nice stained effect. I'm using territorial beige and khaki from Apple Barrel, and mixing those two together with a bit of water always gives me that perfect warm neutral shade, very neutral and earthy. I'm keeping it simple here, but you can totally paint or stain these whatever color you like. But let me know below, do you prefer stained wood or painted wood? I guess I like both. Once the paint is fully dry, you can use a heat tool or even a hair dryer to speed that up. I'll be adding some stenciling to add some character, and I'm using this beautiful bird and branch stencil from Walmart. I'll be gluing one of the wood shape on top of the other to form a little L shape, like a mini stand with a back, and I'll be stenciling the large bird and branch design onto the vertical piece that'll stand upright. So once I have that where I want it, I just tape it down, and I wanted the design to kind of trail out from the edge for a more natural, flowy look. I wanted a dark, almost black color for the stencil, so I'm using graphite from Craftsmart, and it gives a nice bold contrast without being too harsh. So I'm just pouncing the paint over the stencil, and I always make sure to dab off any excess paint first, and that just helps avoid bleeding and keeps the design nice and crisp. And that came out beautifully. For the horizontal piece on the bottom, I thought it would look really nice to have some of the branch coming up from below, like they're growing from the base. So I used a different part of the stencil to add that detail, just to give it a bit more balance. I could have totally left it just like that, and honestly, I think it already looks really pretty, but I felt like the top could use just a little more, so I added a few extra branches above the bird just to fill it out a bit more. You can definitely leave it as is if you like, it looks great either way. To put it together, I just added a strip of glue along the straight edge of the piece that's lying flat, and then I placed the other one right on top, standing up. Super simple. You can place some little candle holders right on top or some small succulents. You could also use it as a decorative bookend. Definitely lots of cute ways to style it. For the next DIY, I'll be using 4 of these corrugated metal frames from Dollar Tree. I'll be gluing these together to form a cube. To make sure everything lays flat when I glue them, I'm just removing a couple of the metal tabs on the side. Now I could have removed the little stand on the back too, but instead I just added a little hot glue to hold it down in place, and that works too. Before I glue them all together, I just wanted to share a couple other ways you can glue these frames together. You can glue them side by side to make a long rectangular piece. It already has metal clips on it, so you could totally use it to hang little notes or recipes or even small printed photos. Or another cute option is to glue 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. I like that too. It'd be cute in an office, kitchen, or even by the entryway for reminders and to-dos. Okay, so for this DIY, I'm going to glue the frames together to form a square. I'm just applying hot glue to one side of a frame and then attaching the end of another frame to form an L shape. Then I do the same thing with the third frame to create a U shape. For the final one, I apply hot glue to the 2 outer edges and press it into the U-shaped frames to close it all up into a cube. Now to make the base for this, I'm using one of these wood planks from Dollar Tree that I already had on hand, but you can totally use whatever scrap wood you've got or skip the base altogether if you prefer. It's totally up to you, and it still works out. Once that's measured and trimmed, I just flip the frames over and glue it right in place. And this one's all done. You can place some faux flowers in the center or drop in a vase with some fresh flowers. I also love these clips. You can clip in some photos, your favorite verse, or even tuck in a small flower or 2. I really love how this one turned out. For the next DIY, I'm using this thick square wood piece. I just wanted to deepen the color a bit, so I'm mixing together that same warm neutral combo from earlier and thinning it out with a little water so it goes on like a stain. So I'm just brushing the paint on and wiping it down immediately. Acrylic paint dries really fast, so I'm just making sure to wipe it down right away. And I'm applying the paint on all sides, top and bottom. A few videos back, I made some DIYs using these beautiful rub-on transfers I found on Amazon, and I'll link that below. And I had a bunch left over, and I thought they'd look so stunning on the wood. So I really like this section with the flowers and the butterfly, and it has that beautiful vintage look. It's so pretty. So I'm just trimming that section out, and I want to make sure it fits nicely on the wood square. To apply it, I just peel off the white backing paper and place the transfer onto the wood. At this point, I can still move it around a bit to get it in the right spot before it sticks. It comes with a little wooden stick, so I start by rubbing over the whole design a few times to help it stay in place. Now, I thought I should trim out that overhang before continuing because I didn't want any of that transfer hanging off the edges or tearing as I peeled it back. So I focused on one corner, rubbing firmly and slowly lifting the top plastic sheet as I go. If any part doesn't transfer, I just lay it back down and rub it again until it sticks completely. Then I just lightly tap over the whole design with my fingers, pressing it down gently to make sure every little part is fully stuck to the wood and nothing is lifting or peeling up. There was a little piece of the transfer I trimmed off earlier, and I decided to use it to fill in a spot that looked a bit empty to help balance everything. I'm adding some wooden beads to the bottom to give it a little lift, and just hot gluing one to each of the four corners underneath. And finally, to seal and protect the transfer, I'm brushing on some Mod Podge over the top. And that's it! This one's all done, and I love how it turned out. For the next DIY, I'll be using this wooden tray from Dollar Tree and 4 of these wooden planks, also from Dollar Tree. I'll be framing the sides of the tray using these wood planks. This just makes the tray look a little bigger and deeper. I'm measuring each one carefully so they fit neatly and cleanly along the edges, and I'll be trimming 2 for the longer sides and 2 for the shorter. You can use a miter box and saw, or even just score over it several times with a utility knife. To attach the planks, I'm applying wood glue along the edges of the tray, and I started with the 2 longer sides, and then with it flipped over, I just attached the wood planks. Before continuing with the shorter sides, I let the longer ones dry for a few minutes. I used clamps to hold them in place, not until it was fully dry, but just enough so they wouldn't shift while I added the other pieces. But this wood glue from Dollar Tree does dry pretty quickly. Next, I apply wood glue along the shorter sides of the tray, just like before, and then I press the remaining planks into place. I'm making sure they line up with the corners so everything looks nice and even. I'll be framing the outer ends with these wooden dowels. Now these are from a prior project, but I usually like getting square dowels at my local hardware store like Home Depot or Lowe's. So here I'm just marking and measuring, and then I trim them down. Now we'll come back to the dowels in a bit, but with the tray, I'm just sanding the ends a bit so everything lines up smoothly along the edges. The fit was already really close, so I didn't have to sand much, but I also gave the inner and outer corners a light sanding. I'll be staining it, and more likely than not, there's probably going to be some dried glue spot, which won't take in the stain well. I'm using a water-based stain in the shade Special Walnut. I love using water-based stains because it's really easy to work with, it dries fast, and it cleans up easily. So I'm just applying the stain and then wiping down the excess with a cloth. Now on the surface, unfortunately, there was a big section of that didn't take in the stain. I wasn't expecting that, and I didn't like how it looked, so I decided to add some decorative peel and stick wallpaper over it. I had some left over from my previous video, which was perfect, and I really love this green and gold leaf one. I think it looks so stunning with the wood. So I just cut out the amount that I needed, and then I peeled off a section of the backing paper, and then I stuck it in place, starting at a corner, and then I carefully removed the rest of the backing paper. And you know, I really loved how this turned out. That whole dried glued and stain mishap actually worked out because I ended up using this pretty wallpaper, and it looks better than I originally planned. Next, I'm going to be painting the cut dowels black. I wanted something that would add a little contrast and tie in nicely with a dark stain, so just using basic black paint for this. Okay, so I decided to take it a step further and dry brush some green over the black. I'm using the shade Moss from Waverly Chalk Paint, and I really wanted it to have a rustic, chippy vibe, like it's been worn over time. So I just dip my brush lightly into the paint, dab off the excess, and then lightly drag it across the dowel. They don't all have to look the same. Some sides have a bit more green than others, and I love the look of that. To attach, I just apply some glue on the bottom of one side, and then I place the tray over one of the long dowels, centering it. I did place another long one on the other side just to help prop it up, and I just continue gluing the rest of the dowels to make a rectangle and frame the ends. And this one is all done. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked today's video, will you please give it a thumbs up? And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of my new upcoming videos. Definitely let me know which one is your favorite and what you would like me to DIY next. Until next time, bye!